Hello and welcome to That VidBlaster Guy. I'm Tom Sinclair, bringing you another exciting episode. And of course, excitement is in the eye of the beholder. Today we're going to have a great show, and we're going to get to it in just a minute. But I did want to send some thanks out to all the guys that joined in the VidBlaster. The great VidBlaster roundtable last week. We had a lot of fun. It was far too short a time, and I was probably way too ambitious in all the questions. If you missed it, we have uploaded it to YouTube. It was the October 15th show, the great VidBlaster roundtable. So I commend it to you because it's neat because there are a number of folks from, there were eight of us from all over the U.S. and all over the world, in fact. And all of us are coming from a slightly different perspective. And in coming from that, in coming from that different perspective, we all brought something different to the table. And it was neat to hear the stories of how guys had discovered VidBlaster and how they were using it and what they wanted to do with it in the future and what changes they'd like to see to VidBlaster in the future as well. What I think we classed it as what do you want for Christmas from VidBlaster? Anyway, it was a lot of fun, and I commend it to you. Also, let me get my show notes out here where I can see them. I don't know what I was thinking, sticking them over in the side. Funny story. Funny thing happened to me on the way to today's show. Today's show was going to be about Skype and how easy it is to bring a guest in on Skype. And I was going to use VidBlaster, of course, for that, and use its screen capture format. And I couldn't get Skype to run. I brought it in, and Skype said, "Hey, do you want to update me?" And I said, "No, thanks." And then it wouldn't run. I mean, I would click on the menus at the top of the screen, and they would just flash. Something was wrong there. And so I thought, well, maybe it doesn't like the other software I'm running with it. So I killed off every piece of software and just started Skype. No difference. So I thought, well, maybe Skype is just mad because it wanted to get updated, and I didn't let it. And so it's ticked off, and it's not going to do it unless I let it update. So I went back and updated it, and no difference. So I thought, okay, so much for the angry Skype idea. I'm just going to uninstall it and reinstall it. And I did that, and no difference. So I thought, okay, somebody else out there has got that problem, so I'll Google it. You know how you can Google the most obscure things, and there's somebody somewhere that has experienced it. Well, nobody's experienced it, at least nobody in the top few pages in Google. So, no Skype today. Isn't that something? Skype is what gives me. I would not have, if you'd said, Tom, you're going to have problems on your show today, I would not have anticipated that it would be Skype that would give me the problems. I would have thought, well, it'll be Wirecast, it'll be Mixer, it'll be VidBlaster, it'll be something else, but I wouldn't expect Skype to have bombed me out at the last. And of course, I was counting on it at the last minute without testing it. Although I did test it about an hour before show, but didn't really have time to finish it up. So we won't be talking about Skype and VidBlaster today. What we will be talking about, and this is something that came up today, and Dave is in the chat room, and Dave, I really appreciate your help this morning. I have reconfigured my audio setup here since last week and spent some time on Monday night testing it to make sure that I had everything dialed in just perfectly, and I streamed and listened to it, and I recorded it and listened to it, and everything seemed to be just fine. Came in today and got a high-pitched wee that, it wasn't loud, and if there was some other sound going out over that channel, then it was okay. And so I started pulling inputs on my mixer. No difference. And there are only two outputs. Well, there are three outputs. Well, there are four outputs. There's the headphone jack. That didn't make any difference when I pulled that. There's an aux send that goes back to the PC. That didn't make any difference when I pulled that. There are the two main outs, and that didn't make any difference when I pulled that. And the only other thing is the two-directional, bidirectional, USB connection on the mixer. And I said, well, it can't possibly be that. So I pulled it, and that's what it was. The hum went away immediately. Immediately. Well, fortunately for me, I have not been regularly connecting my mixer to my PC via USB. Only when I reconfigured everything, well, I guess I did last week's show, had it hooked up, but there wasn't a hum there last week. So something happened between this week and last week to produce a hum. Now, I'm not sure what it might have been. I really am not sure, other than when I disconnect the USB, it goes away. So there's either some slight feedback somewhere, or there's some noise on the USB bus. Certainly that's possible because we're running two cameras and a mouse and a keyboard, and I'm sure there's some other stuff connected USB to the PC as well. And the other change, and this is a couple of weeks old now, is that all of those USB devices are attached to a 10-foot extension cable, 10-foot USB extension cable, because I relocated my PC from under my work surface here to a nearby closet, which has really helped on the sound, the background noise. I don't know if you can tell that, but from my perspective, it's much quieter in here. Not that my voice is anything that you want to spend a lot of time listening to, but it's not competing, and it's not a distracting noise in the background. But the hum was definitely distracting. And it appeared, but prior to disconnecting the PC, disconnecting the mixer from USB, I also had several options. Again, remember we're using VidBlaster to do the switching and to add the graphics and to do videos and overlays and all that kind of stuff. And then we're sending an output over to Wirecast, and Wirecast is picking up the video from VidBlaster and the audio from wherever we tell it to find the audio. Oh, you know what? I know a change I did make. We'll talk about that in just a second. So in Wirecast, you have to select your video source and you have to select your audio source. And you can have more than one, and you can switch them, obviously, but we're just using one of each. And the audio source that we had been using was the input in the PC that was an output on the mixer. Well, that makes sense. Output to the mixer, into the PC, and then from PC to the Wirecast. And in the past, the mixer had been connected to the mic jack on the front of the PC, which appeared in the Windows. What is the technical name for that little thingy right there? The Windows Sound Manager, I guess you would call it, that shows you what your speakers are and what your mics are and that kind of thing. And it comes up. It would be a recording, so it's going to be input. It came up as a microphone, Realtek high definition audio, and so that's what we selected in Wirecast. And then I noticed the hum because I was monitoring it on a different PC this morning. And I said, okay, well, we need to find a different audio device for Wirecast to use to pick it up. So I said, okay, well, let's use the USB. And the USB came in clean as can be. And then I said, well, there's the third one, and here's the third one. The aux send on the mixer is now connected to a mic/line-in jack on the back of the PC. And when you plug a 3.5 millimeter connector into that jack, the software, the operating system, or probably the Realtek software, whoever manufactures the built-in sound card on the board, Realtek, pops up a window and says, is this a mic or is this a line in? Well, the other day when I was fooling with it, I said, oh, it's a mic. Yeah, I want it to come in as a mic because the one coming in the front comes in as a mic, and if there's any difference in the two, I want them to be the same if they can. Don't understand the background behind it, but let's, if it's working like this, it'll work like that. What I didn't realize was they are the same thing. So they were now getting mixed up, and that wasn't any good. So I said, okay, unplug it, reconfigure it, plug it back in again, come back to the same question. Is this a mic or is this a line in? And I proudly said, it's a line in. And it said, we don't think you're right. No, it didn't really say that. Anyway, so now I have two inputs into the PC from the mixer. One is a mic jack coming in the front, coming in a mic jack on the front, which is the main outs from the mixer. And the other is a line in coming in the back, which is the aux send from the mixer. So the mixer's got two outputs that go into the PC through the PC's single sound card. It had a third one, which was the USB connection, but that's the one that was going hummy on me. Now, I'm telling you this hummy story because you may end up bumping into the same thing with your USB mixer. And there may be some combination, of settings or connections that causes this, that if I were to just simply, tweak the red button, it wouldn't happen. But I checked everything I knew to check. The other thing that's interesting about this story is I had not one but two problems with audio this morning. Problem number two, which is the one actually I noticed first, was a crackle. Just a little pop every now and then. Well, doggone it. I don't know if you watch this show a lot, but I've been fighting pops for the longest time. And so I'm unplugging things from the mixer, trying to find the pop. And then my thought was, well, let's just start turning off software. So I turned off Flash Media Live Encoder, and I turned off Wirecast, turned off vMix, turned off Chrome, turned off Windows Test Manager, turned off the soundboard. I mean, the little sound window, sound device. The only thing left to turn off was VidBlaster. So I turned off VidBlaster, and all the pops went away. Deep breath. Oh my, that was a good find, but it wasn't a happy find because I'm thinking, oh, well, I kind of need VidBlaster if I'm going to broadcast. What am I going to do without it? And then you know how your troubleshooting mind goes to think about it. I said, well, let's start at the very beginning. Let's open VidBlaster in a default profile, which is just 6 modules, and see what happens. So I did that. And the way you do that, by the way, if you haven't ever done it, is when you go to open VidBlaster, before you double-click on the icon on your desktop, just hold down the Shift key and then double-click VidBlaster, or click it if it's in your sys tray. And it'll come up and say, do you want to start in the default mode? And if you say yes, then it'll just bring you up with 6 kind of basic modules. And I did that, and no pops. And I thought, oh, okay, good, it's fixed. So I went up to File and then loaded a profile and loaded the profile for today's show, which was, I think, 25, 26 modules, not a huge setup. And immediately, the clicks started coming back. Pop, click, 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 pop, 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 click, click, click. And I said, okay, I can randomly try to kill off modules, or I can go back and try to build something from the ground up, from the default profile, and see how see what modules cause this click to start. So I started adding modules, and I started adding, a couple of cameras, camera 1, camera 3, 2 camera 3s and a camera 1, actually 2 camera 1s. A bunch of players, a bunch of overlays, a bunch of effects, a bunch of still stores. I'm looking over there. An output module, a couple of audio modules. And before you know it, I had rebuilt the profile exactly like it was before, but no clicks. So I saved it, and I loaded the old profile. Clicks came back. I loaded the new profile. No clicks. It appears to be the exact same number and type of modules connected to the same, overlay files and player files, the same cameras. But I've got 2 modules, one of which has clicks, one of which does not. So the moral of this story is, if you run into clicks, if you run into crackles, if you run into pops, and you're using VidBlaster and you're using a ton of modules, and it's an old profile that you just kind of keep reusing and changing and resaving, try starting from scratch. Try going back and start from a fresh profile. I think there's an option. Let's see, File, Clear Profile. Yep, you can actually clear the profile. So you go back to 0 modules, and you can start from scratch there. And that did it for me. Now I know my PC pretty well. I've been using the same one for a while, and I know when my PC CPU use gets up to about 65 or 70%, then I can begin to introduce some clicks and pops. Now somebody's saying in the audience, saying right now that we're full of clicks and pops. Isn't that interesting? Because I'm not hearing a thing now. I did before, but I didn't earlier. Well, I'll be darned. So, anyway, at least your own ears won't be offended by clicks and pops. That's weird that I'm getting clicks and pops. It'll be interesting to see if the clicks and pops come in the recorded version as well. So we'll have to keep out. I think CPU usage right now is bumping 49%, 48, 50, 53. About 50%. Not bad. My guess is that maybe it's a PC stress, because one of the Martin's comment was that audio is full of pops during the show, whereas it was clean in pre-show, and the only difference was going ahead and starting the recorder and Wirecast, which bumped us up from about 40% to 50% in CPU use. Interesting. The looking at the CPU Windows Task Manager for all of the 8 threads, they're all pretty even, right about the 50% mark. Let's try this here. I want to show you, let me get back to the beginning, real quickly, how the mixer is set up, and get some feedback from you guys, and maybe this will help you too. This is the Behringer Behringer X1204USB, and it's currently set up with a few inputs and a few outputs. And Andrew's asking in the chat room if I have tried using a different mic channel on the mixer. Actually, I swapped to a different mic channel about 3 months ago for that very reason, but it wouldn't hurt to swap again, and it wouldn't hurt to clean some connections. This picture here, sorry about that, shows the line in 5 and 6, which is a pair of RCA jacks adapted to 1/4 inch, and they are bringing in audio from the PC. Let's move ahead slide-wise here for just a second. Yeah, through this ground loop isolator, because we were having some problems getting some audio hum, and this fixed it for that purpose. So we're not getting that hum anymore. Let's see, let's go back a couple of slides there, and then we've got what we're looking here. The purpose of this slide is to show you, if you look at the bottom, you can see the numbers. Channel number 4, which is my mic channel, is set to do mix minus on the aux1 bus, and so that was set up for my Skype show today. And then here, this slide shows you the aux send in the top left corner, the red one, set at about 12 o'clock. That was sending my audio only back to the Skype guest. And you've seen that one. You've seen that one. That's the aux send that goes back to the PC. It's just a mono channel, and then that would be for the Skype guest to hear my audio. And then the headphones, of course, that I'm using earbuds. And then the main outs, that's basically, two XLRs that go into and there's the offending USB that we were talking about earlier. The two XLRs go into RCAs, and then go into a splitter, and then a 3.5 millimeter cable that goes to the PC. The question in the chat room is, how come none of the faders are up? Let's see. We're probably talking about that one. And that's just because, I don't know. That's the way I leave the mixer at night. Although I can tell there that the main mix faders, the gray ones on the right side, are up. The rest of them aren't. And if you look closely, you can see that all of the input channels except 4 and 5 are muted. There's a little yellow light there that indicates that they're muted. Yeah, 4 and 5 are muted, or not muted there. And that would be my mic is 4, and then the PC input is on 5. Let's see. And then the other comment in the chat room was, so presumably their process is running now, i.e. recording, that we're not running in pre-show, or at least not consuming the same resources as now. And that's my assumption as well. So whatever it is, we pushed it up over the top. And my apologies to those of you at home that are having to live with pops and crackles. Let's see. So we rebuilt our profile and thought we'd gotten rid of pops and crackles. That's interesting, because I don't hear a thing right now. But what I'm listening to is the mixer. Okay. Well, we'll continue to work on that. That's right. Somebody, John in the chat room, says it's putting him in the mood for Rice Krispies. Oh, golly. That is not the compliment you're looking for. Not the compliment you're looking for. So, let's see. We're going to wrap up this segment. Coming up next will be Streaming Idiots. So stick around for a few minutes. If you're watching us on YouTube, we post the Streaming Idiot shows on Friday afternoons, and the VidBlaster guys on Wednesday afternoons. So there'll be a couple of days delay, but that'll give you something interesting to watch over the weekend. At least we hope. And we encourage you to subscribe on YouTube. You'll get a notice whenever we post a new video. And encourage you also to check out our new streaming accessories store. It is in the Eastern Shore Broadcasting website, and we've got a link there to purchase VidBlaster, to purchase vMix, and to purchase all sorts of cool streaming accessories. And these are streaming accessories that I've personally tested myself and find worthy to recommend to other folks. Not necessarily the cheapest, and all of them are coming from Amazon, so it's a good, reliable distributor. But that's it for this show. We will try to get rid of our pops and crackles, and come back to you again in the future on another show. But in the meantime, have a great day. Try to do something different with your PC and your streaming software and learn something new. Break something so that you can fix it. There we go. All right, I'm Tom Sinclair. This has been That VidBlaster Guy. So long.